When you're dealing with a spreadsheet of data that you would like to manipulate and calculate from, there are multiple ways to do formulas. First of all, if you just highlight a column of numbers, Excel 2007 has added in this nice feature where it shows you the average, the count, and the sum, and it will also show you the min and the max if you so choose. So it's showing me the average, the count, the min, the max, and the sum of the numbers that I've highlighted. However, I can also do formulas with these. So if I wanted to calculate the average for all of these tests, I could do it in multiple ways. If you really don't want to mess with formulas, you can always do the math sort of yourself. You start with an equal sign and you would say, okay, how do I calculate an average? I add them all together and then I divide by the numbers. So you could actually go and add all of these together and then divide by 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could do 92 plus 68 plus 75 plus 71, and then you do it all divided by 4. But Excel follows order of operations. So you need to remember parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, subtraction, and addition go in order. So we want our division to be on the whole sum of that. So you need to put parentheses around your numbers before you divide. Divided by 4. That's going to calculate the average. Another way that you could do that same calculation is to use cell references. So instead of having typed in 92, 68, 75, 71, we would have gone equals, open parentheses, because remember PEMDAS, we want to put all those together. And then I'd click on C8, hit the plus sign, click on D8, hit the plus sign, click on E8, hit the plus sign, and then click on F8, and parentheses, all divided by 4. Now the reason I would have done that is because you always run the risk whenever you manually type in a formula of one of the numbers changing or being wrong. So if I were to change this 64 wasn't a 64, it was an 84. Let's watch what happens to the 64.25 when I change this to an 84. It goes to a 66.75. If this 68 was wrong and I changed it to an 84, nothing happened to that 76.5. So cell references, I'm undoing, Control Z. Cell references are always a good idea because it would update any of the functions those cells were tied to. Yet another way I can do it is to go to the AutoSum button. AutoSum makes it really quick and easy to insert certain formulas. So you go here to AutoSum, you pull this down, you go to average. It guesses what range you're wanting to average. So verify it. If you like it, you hit enter. And so it found that average for me. Another way I can do it is to go to this F of X button. If I click on it, it's going to ask me to type in a brief description of what I want to do and then click go. I can type in, I want to average, and hit enter or go. And it's going to find, sorry, it's being slow. It's going to find anything that has anything to do with averaging. So if you were to click on these, you can read down here and it'll tell you what it's going to do. Average returns the average of its arguments. Day of range, or D average, would do it differently. Conditions. Average if is going to be something else. So we're going to go to average and hit OK. Automatically pops this up and we're going to highlight the range we want to average, which is this, and you hit OK again. Another way to insert a function is to actually start typing. So I hit equals, because all functions start with an equals, and I start all math in Excel, period, starts with an equal sign. Then I start to type in average, and it's going to start returning results for me. And you'll notice that if I put my mouse on it, it's telling me what this does. So I can double click on it and then highlight my range and parenthesis and enter. Then if I also hit equals, I'd like to point out that over here you have this drop down of a bunch of functions. So you can actually click on one of these, and if that's not what you need, you can also hit more function, and it brings up this insert functions box again. There's tons and tons of formulas. So you might just find it if you just type in a brief description of what you're looking for. Now we've just discussed how you can add functions. I want to cover how you can copy them. You can click on here, and there's multiple ways to copy paste. You can right click copy, right click paste. You can control C, you can control V. You can highlight all of these and actually hit V and it would paste them all. Or you could use that fill handle. And all of these are going to have the right function because it's using the cell references. And if you pay attention to what's going on, here you had the average of C3 to F3, but when you move it down, it moves down a row. So C4 to F4, C5 to F5 in row 5. Now what happens if you want to, there was a curve on this test. So I'm going to insert a column. I right click on F and I'm going to hit insert. And I'm going to say test 3 plus curve. So there was a curve of there was a 7-point curve. So it's actually going to be plus 7. And that's formatted as a number, so I'm going to go in, a date, and so I'm going to go in and say it's a number. So it's a plus 7-point curve. I don't want any decimals, and I'm going to center it, bold it so I can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take equals, I'm going to click on this cell, and then I want to add the 7. And it's going to calculate correctly. But when I pull it down, 170 is certainly not correct. What happened was it referenced E4 correctly, but now instead of referencing F2, it's referencing F3. And I don't want it to. I still want it to be F2. In these situations, you want to use something called an absolute cell reference. And what that is a way for Excel to be told always this column or always this row. So what I would do is in this formula, before I copied it down, I'm going to delete this one, is I'm going to add the absolute reference to F2. Always, because we're always adding column F and we're always adding row 2 in this scenario. So I'm going to go up here into the formula bar and I'm going to add a $sign in front of the F and a $sign in front of the 2. That is the key that has been created for Excel to tell it always this column, always this row, absolute cell reference. So now when I copy down this new formula, it's going to copy down correctly. Now it's 82. See, F2 has stayed the same, but E4 has changed. I'm going to continue to pull that down. E4 is, it's now E4, but F2 is still the same. Sorry. E6, F2 is still the same. E5, F2 is still the same. So we copy it all the way down and you'll see that it changed E5, E6, E7, E8, but F2 stayed the same. That's because this is an absolute cell reference.